Shepnaz podcast begins now.
You are listening to the Shepnaz podcast here at Shepherd Church. Everything we do is to connect our community in a meaningful relationship with Christ. I'm Pastor Zack, and I'm your guest host today, sitting in for Pastor Joey. Today, we are welcome to have with us Joshua Potter. Joshua, welcome to the show, my friend. It's awesome to have you. Thanking you so much for being here. Having a good day so far?
So far, so good.
Good. Well, yeah. I'm glad that hopefully that continues as we enter into this conversation, huh? So I know that you're fairly new here at Shepherd. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and how you guys came to Shepherd?
Sure, absolutely. So it's me and my wife, Melanie, and we have 4 kids. My son, Caleb, my daughters, Megan, Izzy, and Gabby. Caleb and Megan have moved out. They're on their own now, which is kind of a good thing. But we had been going to the same church since 2 weeks after we got married, Melanie and I.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a church here in Gahanna, and then it had a campus church over in Whitehall. We were noticing, what brought us here was we were noticing that our girls, especially Izzy and Gabby, just were not connecting with, there was very small kids their age.
Yeah.
And they just were like, we just don't want to go. And we're like, ooh, we need to find something to get them plugged in.
Yeah.
We know Richard and Gina Cooper.
Yep.
So we're like, hey, let's check out Shepherd.
Yeah. And we've had Gina here on the podcast too. So if you've watched
absolutely.
the podcast, you've seen her.
Yeah. She is a force of nature. But we were like, hey, let's check it out. And anytime we go to a church, Melanie and I we're always like, okay, we've got a list of things that we like. If they say, what are they? Where are they? What do they believe about Christ? What do they believe? And we're not going to go to a church that's not Bible-based Christian, Jesus first kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So everything, we were like, check. So we're like, hey, this might be where we're going to stay. So, and it was, and we don't agree with 100% of everything that's said, but I don't think you need to. And none of the things we disagree with are what a good friend of mine calls, that's not a hill to die on.
Yeah, that's good.
Like there's some, and I won't get into what they are, so they're just minor, but it's like, it's minor, so it doesn't matter. It's like Jesus is first.
Yep.
And everything else goes under that, so.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I know that's one thing that my wife and I really loved about this church is we just felt like all those little things were like, it needs to be this. It needs to be faith-based. It needs to be biblical. It needs to be, it's not like a seeker-sensitive church. Like we want to dig into the Word, and we really want to get to know who God is and how He works. And so that's what we've fallen in love with this church about. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah,
that's what brought
100%.
you guys here. And it's super important to have a place that your kids feel connected and loved too. So another reason we love this church because we have that.
And they're loving it. They are. They're getting plugged in.
That's awesome.
So that's awesome.
Perfect segue. Speaking of being plugged in, now that you guys are here, I know that you have already really dove headfirst in volunteering. And so for those of you who know you, they know what you're doing already. But for those of you that might not know you yet, would you tell them what you guys are involved in here at the church?
Absolutely. So myself and Gabby, my youngest, we kind of just dove in headfirst into the tech ministry, and then we met Joe and Josh Alshire, and they're like, hey, come on, we'll do it. Where do you want to go? We'll take you however, we'll teach you
we got
what
a
you
spot
don't know.
for
Yeah,
you.
we've got a spot. What are you interested in? We'll go there. So
that's awesome.
Which is great. Melanie's been on the choir. She's been on the choir. She's been off the choir. She's had some health issues that's kind of kept her out of it. She's now working at Little Lambs, though, as the, I don't want to get her title wrong. It's like lunchroom coordinator for Little Lambs or something. She gets to feed all the kids, and they love her for it.
I was going to say, she's probably every kid's favorite person when she comes around.
Right. And then Izzy is just doing youth group. She's just now talked about getting involved in children's ministry. So
just dropped that bomb on you literally minutes ago.
Exactly. So I'm not going to argue. So
it's a good bomb to drop on it.
Exactly.
Makes your dad heart happy, right?
Exactly.
That's awesome, man. Well, I know as a part of the worship arts or ministry here that we're very grateful for you and your family. So thank you. We really appreciate you. But as you know, the podcast has given us a great opportunity to tell exciting stories of those around you and those that you rub shoulders with on Sundays. We're going to take a quick break real quick. And when we come back, we'll open this up and let Joshua tell the rest of your story.
Countless people experience God's blessings when they tithe, but often the first step is the hardest one to take. The 90-day tithe challenge, a money-back guarantee of sorts. Essentially, it's a contract based on God's promise in Malachi 3, 10, and 11. See, the Bible asks us to give our first and our best back to God, and He will bless the rest. We return to the Lord 10% of what He's given us because it belongs to Him. If you're not tithing already, a great way to start is with the 90-day tithe challenge. We commit to you that if you tithe for 3 months and God doesn't hold true to His promises of blessings, we'll refund 100% of your tithe, no questions asked. All you got to do is fill out the Connect card and click the button that says 90-day tithe challenge. We'll sign you up and we'll be able to walk with you through those 3 months and see all the good that God will do in your life.
And we're back. Joshua, we want to thank you again for hanging out with us and being willing to share. There's so many great stories floating around here, and we love to have the opportunity to share those stories. And I know of your testimony from our personal conversations, but would you tell us a little bit about how you came to know Christ?
So how I came to know Christ is, I haven't thought about that for a long time, really. So a friend of my brother's was taking him to church, and then they just said, "Hey, do you want to go?" I started going. I started listening, and then this Christ guy sounded really cool. So I was about 13, and I gave myself to Christ. I just followed him, and it's been a journey. It's been up and down and up and down, and so whenever it's been down, God just kind of pulls me in. He's like, "Oh, come on back to Christ," and haven't regretted it since. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's something I absolutely love about the God that we serve. If you know anything about my story, I ran away. And for the longest time, I always felt like God left me. And then what I realized was through all that, no matter how far away I felt or how much farther I walked away, like God was always right there behind me, ready to pull me back in. Yeah. So it's awesome to hear that about your story as well.
This has been floating around my head for a while. It's like, if you really want to be the true 1%, you always hear about the 1%, 1%. Yeah. If you want to be the 1%, follow Christ, because if you wander away, He'll walk after you and get you. Right. Because He leaves the 99 to go get the 1. That's 1%.
Wow, that's cool.
And
man.
He grabs you and He comes back and He brings you back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the God we serve, man.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Well, speaking of the God that we serve and the amazing things that He's done, I know you've shared a little bit with me. We're currently, we just wrapped up our series on finances here at the church. And I know that you shared a really cool story about God blessing your family through your finances. Yeah. And would you mind sharing a little bit, whatever you're comfortable with sharing here with the podcast?
Absolutely. So we were doing fine financially for a while. And then I lost my job. I got laid off. And it took me a while to find a new job. And right after I found a new job, Melanie got laid off. Yeah. And then she was doing some like DoorDash and stuff, and she didn't feel comfortable doing that. It started getting dangerous. So she stopped doing that. She wasn't finding another job. So we were just having some trouble keeping up, because we're a paycheck to paycheck kind of family, but we need both of us working, and then, COVID hit. And so we were getting those stimulus checks. So that kind of floated us for a while. And then we got a tax return, so that floated us for a while. And then those ran out, and she still wasn't working. And just trying to find a job that fit, and we were falling behind. And so I had enough money. We had enough money coming in to pay all our bills except the mortgage. And so we were falling about 2-3 months behind on the mortgage, and I don't know about you, but when I get a phone call and I don't know the number, 99% of the time I don't pick it up.
Yep.
I was in the car by myself, phone rang, don't know the number, but it's like something told me, pick this up. So I answer the phone. It's my mortgage company saying, "Hey, we've noticed you're behind, and what can we do to help?" And long story short, they put us on what's called a deferment. So they're not going to charge you any extra fees, and they're not going to foreclose on the house or anything. Yeah. But you only got 5 months to pay what you owe. So at the end of that 5 months, we would be 5 months behind, because they started it when we stopped paying.
Gotcha.
So they retroactively started it. So we've got 5 months we actually had 3 months to catch up on payments. Yeah. And we're just because at this time she's still not working, and we're like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but God had me answer that phone call for a reason. I really believe it was God. Yeah. She got blessed to come and work at Little Lamb. So she started coming in, and we're just like, okay, now we have enough money to pay all our monthly bills, but we still have to come up with what we owe them. And I don't know how God did it, through overtime and holiday pay and holiday overtime. God's like, I'm looking at our checkbook and it's like, I can make 2 of these back mortgage payments.
Wow.
So I wrote this check, one of the biggest checks I've ever written.
Right.
And
makes you sweat a little bit.
I said, okay, so there's 2. So I need to come up with, I knew what the total number was going to be. It's over $3,000 or something. And it's like a couple weeks later, got another big, huge check that I wasn't expecting. And it's like, I can afford to make another 2 months. Man. So, okay, there's 4 months down. I've got 1 month to go. It's like, I can actually see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Wow.
I don't know how I'm going to get that last month. God provided. And lo and behold, I was able to write that last check. And it's like about a week and a half before the deferment ended, we were able to pay that last bit off.
Wow.
And the deferment ended on January 31st, which means February 1st. If you've got a mortgage, that's when your mortgage is due. Yep. So not only did God provide the back pay, he also provided that February payment. Man. It's like, okay, I'm a worrier by nature. So every time if money's tight, I'm like, I don't know what am I to do? What am I to do? Yeah. But God's like, I got you. Yeah. I got you. Absolutely. And so we're able to do that. And God's really been speaking to me, especially through this and this last sermon, tithing. Hey, have I ever let you down before? Trust me. Trust me. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm trusting you a little more than I was. So that's where I'm really getting stretched to with my faith is God's like, do you trust me? How much do you trust me?
Exactly. That's so cool, man. Because it's really easy when you look at that, like, especially when you're stressed out, it's really easy to forget about all those blessings that he's provided you, right? But then to remind yourself of like, man, think of all the things that God's dug me out of, and especially in this particular situation. Like, so cool to see how God's provided for you, man. Really appreciate you and being open and honest to share that. That's a big deal. So thank you very much, man. That's awesome. Well, I just want to say thanks again for joining us. That will do it for today's episode. And if you heard something today that resonated with you, or you have a story that you want to tell, just reach out to us by emailing podcast@shepnaz.org. And remember to give us a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen, and share this with a friend to help spread the word. And make sure to check us out on social media at shepnaz.org. For Joshua and Pastor Joey, I'm Pastor Zack. Have a great rest of your day.
This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.